Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be looking at the first day worth of stats from the release of the Foundations, the new core set-esque stat set that is coming out. So this is going to be an early metagame breakdown for both best of 1 standard and best of 3 standard. It's really just kind of highlighting some decks that are newer-ish in nature that are being played. We aren't going to cover all the existing decks. It's only 1 day's worth of data. We're looking at stuff that recently pushed people to Mythic in both formats, just kind of seeing what's working there. We'll be able to kind of get the aggregate data in the coming days to see up to like Diamond and Mythic rank what's cumulatively being played. Preface, this is early. It's to just give you an idea. It's not to necessarily say go craft these immediately, but folks usually want to see what people are trying out, give them some ideas in terms of what's being built. In general, this is a weaker set compared to some of our last sets. It's more core set adjacent. So keep that in mind as you're kind of going through. But we're going to look at a bunch of different lists today. I'll put in the video description these deck lists. I'll paste them. I will put whether they're best of 1 or best of 3 in the title as well. Do bear with me. I caught the flu, lost my voice yesterday. So I'm just kind of getting it back. So I might be a little short of breath as we go through this. But wanted to get something out to at least give people a starting point. As soon as we get more cumulative data, I will start putting these out and get them more frequent as we kind of lead up. There is going to be a standard metagame challenge that they failed to announce, but we found it on their site, so that'll be this weekend. Sorry, voice. And we'll put up some deck lists leading up to that as well. So starting with best of 1. Pardon me. So these are just some lists people are trying out. This one from Mr. Corona's 8 and 3. Just a take on the Tempo Flash variant. Brineborn Cutthroat got reprinted. There's just a bunch of bounce, cheap effects. Spectral Sailor got reprinted. Stab is a new Disfigure style card. So this variation of the deck, a lot of flash threats, removal. Kaidos can be cheated in. Urtais, Gix in here along with Afar's Curiosity. Sorry, my throat's really bad. So just kind of lots of removal, more geared to best of 1. You'll see a little bit more. Afar's Dispersal is not a card you usually see. So this gives you kind of an idea of what people are trying out in this shell here. I'm going to go pretty quick with these. This one's 25 and 18 in best of 1. This is Orzhov Lifegain. So it does have the infinite combo, Bloodthirsty Conqueror and Enduring Tenacity. It's just not all in. There's also Starscape Cleric, so whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life, which would also trigger the Bloodthirsty Conqueror. So 6 pieces plus the 2 Conquer on the top end. Otherwise, it's like a Bat Tribal deck. You have Authority as a reprinted card, gains you a bunch of life that plays into it. A bunch of the bats that kind of work. Amalia gives you some card advantage. Sheltered by Ghosts for protection, stuff like that. So this is a variation that they were playing in best of 1. Seems like there's a sideboard, but this was played in best of 1 as well. 28 and 21 by Demonetos. So mono white tokens, we got authorities in the main. We have some resolute reinforcements in here, enduring curiosities. So pretty stock. We're just seeing in these white decks some inclusion of authorities to kind of play with the more aggressive haste style strategies. Gives you some time to kind of catch up in those decks there. So it's kind of the core Caretaker's Talent deck with the Enduring Curiosity paired with authority in here to kind of slow down the aggressive decks. We then have, so this one's not really any new cards, but the record's really, really good. 65 and 18 in best of 1 with this. So it's a variation of the mono red deck with no Screaming Nemesis, instead playing Cunning Coyote, which can give haste. You can plot it, kind of pairs up nicely with the Valiant stuff. You still have your mouse package, but also Demonic Ruckus, the Rock-based Village in here, this Coyote, which doesn't work with it, but you can just update this to be Burst Lightning now. It's just strictly better. It does the default of Shock, but Burst Lightning also can scale if you flood to deal 4 damage as well, but lots of cheap kind of removal, and then just an aggressively oriented deck there. So interesting, not full burn, but the Coyote seems to be performing quite well in best of 1. We then go to a variation. This one's by, can't pronounce the name, but 54%, pretty big sample. This one's an interesting one. So it's more of a controlling version of burn. So you do have your Burst Lightnings, Shocks, Lightning Helix, Artist Talent lets you draw discard through your deck, and then its last mode lets any of your burn deal 2 extra damage. You have Virtue of Courage, which can be removal, and then card draw case in here. So just lots of removal kind of options, and then eventually you just kind of chain together burn spells with a resolved Virtue, and then deal extra damage with Artisan's Talent, which is kind of cool in the sense of most people I think are approaching burn just being very linear and aggro. This one could pivot and be a little bit more controlling in that sense. So interesting way to kind of approach that puzzle. So looking at best of 3. So we had this version here of the Rakdos Sacrifice. So we played a version of this on stream the other day. We went 3-0 and it was doing really well. But this one here, we got a reprint of Immerstrom Predator. Cares about sacrificing, could be get counters from it. Exiles the graveyard, which is nice. And then you naturally want to sacrifice creatures in this deck, so you get the value that it gets indestructible as well. Corpse of the Lost can be played repeatedly. If you descended, you can bring it back. Gets you hasty skeletons. Forsaken Miner can come back. This one's on case. The Mirth was very, very good. We were playing Braids in a couple more ways to sacrifice, but the Mirth kind of chaining them together was really strong. Your sideboard's got Graveyard Hate, various removal, Furnace Rain to steal stuff, Listening Deluge for the go wide decks, Liliana for the grindier matchups, Sword of Once and Future for blue-black, and Withering Torment for the enchantment-based decks. I apologize for my voice. Like I said, I'm trying to get something out. I could just talk today. Yesterday I couldn't talk at all. So we have a version of Red Deck Wins Burn. So this one, 18-5 by Forger of Pies. And it's kind of taking the red deck that we've seen and updating it to play Sheltered by Ghosts. This provides some Valiant, works nice with the double strike, provides some protection. You are seeing both Bolt Wave and Burst Lightning included in this list, as well as Boros Charm. Boros Charm can be used defensively to protect your stuff, can also provide double strike with Monstrous Rage, so you build your own Ember Cleave. So some interesting ways there to kind of play it out. Mana Base is opting to go 2 Plains, 2 Restless Biovacs, no Thran Portals, which I like. Sideboard, you have just more situational removal, and then Forge for the grindier matchup. So pretty solid, clean list, all things considered. Moving on, we go to a best of 3 variant. This is not the same person as the other one, so we'll see how they're approaching it differently. So no infinite combo in this one, instead playing Alenda. Lifelink, Hexproof from Instance, so dodges a lot of the removal. Go for the Throats, anything like that. I would kind of get hit by sweepers still, but a nice kind of roadblock in a way. If your life total is 1 or more, then you're starting, it gets +1/1 in Menace, so 5/5 Lifelink Menace. And if it's 10 or more, it gets +5/5, so it becomes a 10/10 Lifelink Menace, which is kind of nuts. A lot of the cards we saw in the other version, full set of bats, card advantage with Enduring Innocence. This variant here has Resplendent Angel to pop out some angels as well. So interesting kind of take on this. Hand Hate, Cooped Up is an interesting card. Instead of just being removal, it's just kind of gets rid of attackers and blockers. This could probably just become something like Get Lost, I would say, because there is still static abilities that you probably want to get rid of. Planar Disruption, same idea. These cards can probably be updated to be more suitable. This one here, again, probably Liliana. So the sideboard leads a lot to kind of entertain, I would say. There's elements of the Rakdos version you could kind of pull in the Get Lost, stuff of that nature, but the main board looks pretty interesting in that respect. And lastly, there was an MTGO league. You can take a look. There's some of the stock lists that are here. Boros, auras, various flavors of like the various Caretakers decks, like some Blessed Cleric in here. The one I wanted to highlight was this Gruul Overlord Smuggler's Prize deck. So we've had Smuggler's Prize decks before. We got Llanowar Elf added, a full set of both of the Overlords, Vaultborn Tyrant in here, various kind of removal options. So it's kind of rampant to big stuff. Various sweepers, various removal options in the sideboard as well. So I'll link this whole version if you want to just see some of the stock lists. We see Gruul adding in a Vivian Reed, Some are playing the Llanowar Elves in here that you see as well. One thing, if you like the anime art Llanowar Elves, it's only 1,000 gold for the alt art in Arena if you want to pick that up. But you can take a look at these ones here. We'll do more of a deep dive once we get more than like a day's worth of data, but jumping off point to start off, we see this kind of like Boros aggro deck as well that featured again. But let me know what you've been playing, what you think of the new set, if you think it's too weak, if you think it is legit. And like I said, once my voice comes back, we'll try to do some metagame challenges over the weekend and we'll come back with all the stats. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a great one. Stay safe.